Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Defiant Podcast. I'm Majid Padelin, aka Brooklyn Dad Defiant, and here is my co-host with the co-most, the legendary, essential Kenny Hess, the Hessinator.
Ooh, essential. Wow, I feel like I'm in COVID. I'm an essential worker over here.
You are, my dude. You are. Can't do this show without you. I could, but it would be very sad.
Yeah.
I'd be
we
like,
got a good banter going.
I'd be like, welcome.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to kick the Willy Bobo with anybody.
I'm using my jam.
Yeah, dude. I'm throwing that out anywhere I can. Yes. What a week. We missed some major events since the last show. It's crazy. Every time we put out an episode, something ridiculous happens.
You know, so I live in constant fear of missing out, constant FOMO, right? Yeah. Like in the back of my head, I'm like, you know, as soon as we finish recording this show, there's going to be some major event happening that is not going to be covered in the episode. But we at least did capture one out of the three major events that took place in the past 7 days. The first major event that happened that we missed out on the show was the release of hostages. It was a prisoner swap between the United States and Russia, and this was a huge deal. Actually,
the largest prisoner swap since between the U.S. and Moscow since the Cold War.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Didn't know that.
And President Biden was actually at the tarmac. I want to say this was St. Andrews base or something.
Yeah,
I think I'm butchering that. But he was at the air base when the hostages came back. It was like midnight.
Yeah,
this is midnight.
Super
So
late.
This was Sleepy Joe. Sleepy Joe, past his bedtime.
Hostages.
Marine veteran Paul Whelan was the first former prisoner to step back onto U.S. soil, immediately welcomed home by President Biden and Vice President Harris. Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich soon followed, embracing his mother on the tarmac.
So he brought back Paul Whelan, who was taken during Trump's time in office. This is necessary. This is important to point out because a lot of Trump supporters will say, "Oh, well, you know, those guys were taken while Biden was in office." Back up. You know, if Trump could have gotten these guys released, why didn't he do it when he was in office?
President Trump has said repeatedly that he could have gotten the hostages out without giving anything in exchange. What do you say to that? What do you say to President Trump now, former president?
Why didn't he do it when he was president?
Sir, what did you
I think that was what they call a mic drop moment at the end there. Why didn't he do it when he was president?
Paul Whelan was taken in December of 2019.
Yeah, for someone who's so buddy with Putin, allegedly may enjoy Putin peeing on him. You'd think he'd have some good graces to get some of these prisoners back, but alas, he did not.
Kenny, didn't he brag about something?
He said he congratulated Putin on another great deal. But didn't congratulate Joe Biden, the American president, on getting the prisoners back. What the hell? Not that I'm shocked by it, but
what I was talking about was that Donald Trump recently, I think it was May, bragged that Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, will only release Evan Gershkovich to him, only to him, and he said this will be immediately after I take office. He's assuming that he's going to be reelected.
Evan Gershkovich, the reporter for the Wall Street Journal who is being held by Russia, will be released almost immediately after the election, but definitely before I assume office. He will be home. He will be safe. Vladimir Putin, president of Russia, will do that for me, and I don't believe he'll do it for anyone else, and we will be paying nothing. Biden likes to pay massive numbers. We will be paying nothing. Thank you very much.
And then Vladimir Putin will say, as a gift to you, Donald, here, you take this prisoner. I don't want money. No rubles, nothing. No, just take, please. Please.
This is a really good Putin.
Thank you. Actually, I don't think his voice is that deep.
I don't think it is either.
But yeah, I mean, I was primarily satisfied that we got these American hostages home. Period. It doesn't, at some point, put your partisanship down. If there are Americans in the Olympics, stop with the stupid partisanship. These are Americans. Cheer for them, goddammit.
Yeah.
If there are Americans being released, being brought back home, forget that you're a Democrat or Republican. Just remember that you're American and feel happy for that, for the families that are getting to see. I've said this before, like, when you are a parent, eventually one day when you're a parent and you walk into, let's say, a supermarket or a department store with your child or your children, and you take your eye off them for a second,
that was me,
and they're gone. That was me too. I was that kid.
Yeah.
It is harrowing. It is just terrifying. So imagine that multiplied by 1 million when your son or daughter are abroad, and then you hear that they've been taken by a country, taken hostage or prisoner by a country that is not known for being kind to journalists or Americans or whatever. Yeah. It's terrifying. So I'm happy
when you don't have Liam Neeson on speed dial.
he's got a set of skills.
Nice. Yeah, no, you're right though. That's got to be horrifying. And just for fuck's sake, you're right. Just set the partisanship aside for a second, dude. God damn.
Yeah. But with that said, I am very satisfied also that Donald Trump was pantsed by Vladimir Putin. Oops, Bubala, I'm sorry. Did I say I would give to you? I meant fuck you.
Hey, Donald Trump allegedly does like to get spanked, so
the ruining of Spanky McDumbass.
Spanky McDumbass getting spanked by Putin. Probably his favorite person to be, but anyway.
Dude, we had another major event that our show missed out on. You want to kick that off?
Yeah, well, Trump had an absolute meltdown, a terrible interview at the National Association of Black Journalists convention that he was invited to, I believe, in Chicago. Mm-hmm. I believe Kamala Harris couldn't go because of some scheduling conflicts. But holy hell, I mean, y'all have probably seen the clips already, but right out the gate, that shit was just downhill as fast as possible. The first question was a hard hitter. It was a great question.
Rachel Scott
calling out Trump for his past remarks about the Black community, about women. And right off the bat, Trump was like, "Wow, what a horrible question! You were late, and attacking me."
I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe Black district attorneys. You've attacked Black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking Black supporters to vote for you, why should Black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. don't even say hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money, they were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that, and let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense, and then you said you can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late, just so we understand. I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something was
President,
wrong.
I would love
I think
if
it's
you can
a
answer
very
the question
nasty
on your rhetoric
question.
and why you
I have
believe
answered
that
the
black voters
question.
should trust you with another
I
4
have
years.
been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President
That's
Johnson,
my
who signed the
answer.
Voting Rights Act?
And for you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work, in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace. I really do.
I was like, holy shit. But then the best part was probably when the fucking Kamala turned black comment.
Oh my God.
We'll break the whole thing down, but that was just...
Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition
the words
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir,
of
I'm
that.
asking you a question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define it for me, if you
I
would.
just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She is always
But
identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe that she is
somebody should look into that too when you ask continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some Republicans
I really don't
have
know.
said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be.
So when I was watching this, at one point, I had completely forgotten that the NABJ was happening that day. And there was a controversy, actually. People didn't want Donald Trump to show up to this NABJ. There was there was a dispute on whether or not they should platform him because he's known for lying and for, just lying to people's faces. And I think somebody in leadership at the NABJ was like, nope, I'm stepping down. Like they didn't want to know part of it. But then I was as soon as 1 minute into this show, when Rachel Scott started asking her questions, and she was running down all the nasty shit he did with the President Obama's birth certificate and this and that, I was like, Lord, thank you for letting me be alive today to witness this. It's beautiful. Because first, she wasn't rude. He said, that's a rude question. I can't believe nobody's ever. Here's the interesting thing. All she did was calmly and respectfully, professionally, recite the things he said.
Yeah.
So the things he said were so, acrimonious. That's not the word I'm looking for. They were so hideous to his eardrums. He had never heard anything so rude before. Dude, this is just
that
your
was
words.
you. Yeah.
But yeah.
You're looking in a mirror, brother.
Oh my God.
Holy hell.
So at one point I was like, this is an unmitigated disaster, right? You'd have to be a complete moron to go into this thinking that you're going to come away with any additional black votes, right? Because that was their whole thing. Their whole thing was like, the blacks, they love me. And, they thought that because he had a mugshot, now black people are going to relate to me more. And look, I'm selling gold sneakers too.
Yeah.
I automatically thought that would subtract black voters from him. But then it occurred to me, maybe he's not intentionally trying to speak to the black community. Maybe he's trying to speak to the racist community.
I don't know that he's smart enough to play that kind of 4-dimensional chess, but but I could see that honestly being the case, that just out of sheer racist stupidity, that he actually doesn't. I mean, he already told Christians not to vote, and he told Nikki Haley supporters, we don't need your votes. So maybe he doesn't give a flying fuck about the black vote either. Especially after this, he's probably like,
it's almost like a comedy of errors. Like you have to intentionally be that bad. He's like the from The Office. Do you ever watch The Office?
Yeah.
He's like the Michael Scott of politics. Like, you couldn't bribe him to say the right thing.
Yeah. That's what she said.
No, I
never said that at a rally.
It was earlier today. I saw JD Vance going back and forth with reporters, and JD Vance was saying that Donald Trump will go anywhere and he'll answer questions from anyone, right? But that's not exactly true. He did go to the NABJ. That he did.
Yep.
But he didn't go with the intention of answering questions, because he didn't answer the questions, if you remember.
Yeah, he didn't answer a damn thing.
He just went on about how bad Joe Biden was as president, and that thing you said about when he was questioning Kamala Harris's ethnicity.
I didn't know she was black. I knew her for a while ago. I didn't know she was always Indian. I didn't know it. And one day she turned black. She decided to be a black person. I can't, dude. As fucking dumb and racist and even misogynistic as that was, that last line where he's like, and then she became a black person. I just died. I was like, what are we? Who am I? Where are we?
The ads are going to write themselves.
They really are.
Yeah.
He's giving them so much fodder. That's a good point.
And then I guess the major news event, I think, of the month probably was that Kamala Harris, after much speculation over the past 2 weeks since she was passed the torch, so to speak, she finally did announce her vice presidential pick, her running mate.
Finally.
And that was Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota. Now, I don't remember off the top of my head if I actually said the words that I liked Tim Walz last week, but I know I was feeling it.
Yeah. If you're a betting person,
do you have like a top 4?
I have a top 4. So top one, 75% chance is Josh Shapiro.
Wow.
Which
75?
75%. And the next person after that, Andy Bashir, drops down to 10%. Then you have Mark Kelly at 7%. These are just betting odds, I guess. And then Tim Walz at 6%.
Interesting. I like Tim Walz, actually. I was saying
I do
before
too.
that I like Mark Kelly more because he's an astronaut, and he's
badass.
also a senator from Arizona. But then we have some viewers who are like, no, don't take don't take our senator away. We're trying to keep that Senate seat. So, but Tim Walz, I don't know if you've seen him on some of these talk shows, political talk shows. Man, he would make a very effective attack dog. That's primarily the job of the VP. I feel like we talked about we must have talked about the vice presidential picks last week, didn't we?
We talked about like the projections that people had. I believe that Josh Shapiro was wow. Tim Walz was way down there.
Yeah.
That is wild. But he came out a swinging, and we talked about him last week as well in reference to he was on that White Dudes for Harris call, I believe, and he had like a really good zinger in there.
Yeah.
Sorry, my mic is acting all kinds of weird.
You sound nice and loud there. You sound like that
ASMR. It's just like every time it just keeps dropping down. That's so weird.
Why don't you just plant your mouth close to the mic?
This is your captain speaking. I'm gonna plug it in.
Yeah. So Tim Walz, we did spend a good amount of time talking about the usage of the word weird as an insult against Donald Trump and the MAGA philosophy in general. Tim Walz was the guy who brought weird, who made weird sexy again.
He made weird happen. He was the Gretchen Wiener of making fetch.
Yeah, he did that.
I didn't know that until literally yesterday. I had no idea, and then I found the clip of him originating it, which was pretty fantastic. It was so organic too. The way he said it, he was like in the middle of just like railing against them, and then he just said that they were weird, and it really stuck. And
dude, here's the thing: weird. The word weird. When I first heard them say, calling Trump weird, I was like, "Come on, really? What is that? That's so low tech." But that actually. The fact that it's low tech, that it's lowbrow, it's 5 letters, it's 1 syllable, it's weird, it's accessible. You don't even have to think twice when you say the word weird. You have like one cousin in your family that everybody's like, why is that kid so weird?
You're so right.
Everybody knows weird, and there's usually not a positive connotation that goes along with it. It's as weird as that guy, you always see who wears those long raincoats when you shouldn't be wearing a long raincoat, and he looks skeevy, and what's up with that guy? He's weird.
What's up? He's weird, but it's innocuous enough to kind of, I feel like, and I heard someone on NPR talking about this, where they were saying that it helps to kind of pull in a little bit, maybe those people who are progressive leaning, but may not have been on board with certain aspects of like policy, or maybe agree on certain things on the Republican side, but then to just be like, oh, you know what, these people are weird. They're just like, they're not a person I would hang out with. JD Vance especially, what a weird guy. Donald Trump, what a weird guy. And it really, I think, goes to the other thing that I think Tim Walz helps with is that middle America. He's a teacher, a veteran, and I think it just pulls those people from the middle that are like, because fucking RFK Jr. is weird as hell too. There's the Democratic ticket is the only semblance of normalcy in this presidential campaign in American politics. Like, weird.
I don't want to digress too much from what we're talking about, but you said RFK Jr. He had a baby bear, right? It was a baby bear that I think it was hit. So it was roadkill, but he decided that he wanted to put it in his car because I can cook this thing up. And then he left it in his car all day, so that he could take a detour and I think he was doing, what was he, quailing or falconing? It was who do you know that does falconing?
Yeah, nobody.
And then he went to like the most, one of the ritziest, most famous steakhouses in New York City, Peter Luger's.
Mm-hmm.
He went there and had dinner for a few hours, and then he just happened to remember, by the way, I have a flight that I have to catch, so I can't drop this bear off uncooked, at my house anymore. So I'm just going to dump it in Central Park, and that was a thing. It's not like this was a random event. This was a news event that was covered for a long time.
And then the way he announced it to get ahead of the story was just in a friggin' like horizontal film video with Roseanne Barr.
I got right to the city because there was a dinner at Peter Luger's Steakhouse. And at the end of the dinner, it went late, and I realized I couldn't go home. I had to go to the airport. And the bear was in my car, and I didn't want to leave the bear in the car because that would have been bad. So then I thought, at that time, this was a little bit of the redneck in me. There'd been a series of bicycle accidents in New York. They had just put in the bike lanes. And saw a couple of people had gotten killed, and it was every day, and people had gotten badly injured. Every day it was in the press. And so I thought, I wasn't drinking, of course, but people were drinking with me who thought this was a good idea. And I said, I had an old bike in my car that somebody had asked me to get rid of it. I said, let's go put the bear in Central Park and we'll make it look like he got hit by a bike. It'll be funny for people. So everybody thought that's a great idea. So we
what the fuck are we doing, guys? Think about that though. And not only are the other, and we can get back on right after this, I promise. But not only are the independent and the Republican candidates weird as hell, they are also friggin' one's a billionaire allegedly, though inflated probably, and the other one comes from a wealthy, American royalty family. Like, these people have no clue about what it is like to grow up middle class, about what it's like to actually work for something. And then they have the audacity to say that Kamala slept her way to the top and got where she is because she's attractive or whatever. Like, give me
disgusting
friggin' break. It's disgusting, but it's also fucking infuriating. And I'm sorry. I hope we don't get demonetized because people eat that crap up. And it's like, how are you? There are very smart, intelligent people that support Donald Trump. I am friends with some of them, and it still boggles my mind that they can go and have the intellectual dishonesty to sit there and say, oh, well, I'm going to vote for him because of this one thing, because of my stance on abortion or because of whatever. And it's like, how can you ignore every other single blatant hypocrisy, atrocity, disgusting remark, and still think these people represent you?
Yeah.
Brother, my brother in Christ, wake the fuck up, dude. God, all right, soapbox over.
I love it.
At least one of those an episode, I feel like.
I love it, buddy. Thank you for that. Yeah. And so the MAGA is looking to attack Tim Walz on a range of different issues. They're using the spaghetti on the wall strategy, like throw spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks, basically. But here's the problem with that. Almost every different thing that they can attack Tim Walz on can be like jujitsu'd into a counterattack, an effective counterattack on Donald Trump. So I would like to get into that, but first, I would like to get into our little thing that we like to call I'm Old Enough to Remember.
That's such a good little tune.
I love it.
That's such a good tune. Anyway, go on.
I'm old enough to remember when Donald Trump and MAGA wanted President Biden out of the presidential race. And now that he's out, and Trump has to face Kamala Harris. Trump is now singing a completely different tune. Did you see his deranged post on Truth Social the other day?
I did. I actually saw it from your tweet, where he said
no kidding.
Kamala. Yeah, and then I immediately made a video about it. So thank you for sparking that inspiration. Go for it.
You're very welcome. I brought it with me.
He got the receipts.
What are the chances that crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the U.S., whose presidency was unconstitutionally stolen from him by Kamala, Barack Hussein, he loves to misspell Barack's first name with two R's. Hussein Obama, crazy Nancy Pelosi, shifty Adam Schiff, crying Chuck Schumer, and a partridge in a pear tree. And then he goes on to say, what are the chances that Joe Biden crashes the Democrat National Convention and tries to take back the nomination, beginning with challenging me to another debate. So, like,
wow.
This sounds just like fantasy land. Like,
he's writing fan fiction.
Like this is something he wants to happen. He wants President Biden back in the race. Why?
Because he's the debate. That's it. Because he won the debate because he's friggin' terrified of going up against Kamala.
And for good reason. He should be, because Kamala Harris has had her share of, head-to-head moments with Brett Kavanaugh.
Yep.
Remember that the confirmation hearing?
Can you think of any laws that give government the power to make decisions about the male body?
I'm happy to answer a more specific question, but
male versus female.
There are medical procedures
that the government has the power to make a decision about a man's body.
I thought you were asking about medical procedures that are unique to men.
I'll repeat the question. Can you think of any laws that give the government the power to make decisions about the male body?
I'm not thinking of any right now.
Bill Barr. Yep. She is no shrinking violet. She will take you on and make you feel stupid in front of the whole world. And that's not a far fall for Donald Trump. He lives in stupid. He is that is where he resides. So
true. And on that note, I mean, I am old enough to remember when Donald Trump said himself, anytime, any place in relation to debating. But now that Kamala is his opponent, he doesn't feel the same. As we said, he wants a lifeline. Can I phone a friend?
Yeah.
Can I get a sub?
So here's the thing. Now he wants it. He wants a debate on Fox News, right, with all of his friends, people who are afraid to take him on head on or hold him accountable or shut him the hell up. Yep. He doesn't want mics muted. And he wants a massive audience. Of course, 95% Trump supporters, Of
course.
And that's not a debate. That's just a Trump rally.
Yeah. Like, come on, dude. Have some self-respect. Not that you ever would, but it's just so dumb. And it's again, how do you look at that and say that he is either strong or a fearless leader or whatever? Like, no, the guy's a pussy. He is what he grabs, It's like, give me a break, Donald.
And he can't do that thing that he did with Hillary Clinton. I don't know if you remember this. In the 2016 debate against Hillary Clinton, he did that creepy stalking thing where he walked behind her. He will not get away doing that with Kamala Harris. That's for sure.
No, it should be like, pop.
Yeah. She'll be like, She'll be like, "I'm speaking," and he will get the backhand.
Hell yeah. Stand up and stand by.
But okay, so let's say I get into it with Trump supporters online all the time, and I shouldn't, but they're like, "Oh, I guess you think he should be on some partisan channel like ABC. ABC is owned by the Democrats or whatever." You know what? I don't care where it happens, but it shouldn't happen on Fox News. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're concernicus about it being on a partisan network, like you don't hear any of us suggesting he go on MSNBC. Okay. Moderated by Joy Reid and Rachel Maddow and Lawrence O'Donnell. Lawrence O'Donnell would shred him.
He really would.
Let's have it on PBS.
Do an NPR Tiny Desk concert.
No, see, NPR is still too liberal.
I know, it's too liberal.
It's got to be,
PBS was going to be I was joking about that, but PBS was going to be I was like, yeah, PBS would be the place to do it, honestly.
Or C-SPAN.
C-SPAN would be good.
BBC. How about BBC? Nobody really talks about them, but they're, Rumble.
Do it on Don Jr.'s podcast.
Yeah. I am old enough to remember when Donald Trump was the guy with the big booming rallies packed to the rafters. And now all of a sudden, he can't even fill an arena. He's so low energy. He complains to his supporters about the empty seats. And meanwhile, Kamala Harris has no problem filling those very same stadiums. Have you seen that?
Oh, 100%. I saw it first start in Georgia, with the Atlanta rallies. I think that's when these clips started kind of coming out comparing, because that was the early days of Kamala going out and doing rallies and stuff. And there were so many clips comparing the crowd sizes, which, is a massive blow to Trump's ego, because you know how much he cares about crowd sizes and size in general. And so the most or the best one rather was probably the most recent one with the rally that happened yesterday in Philadelphia for Kamala, where it was the first joint rally, because it was in the exact same stadium where Donald Trump had his rally not too long ago. And you can see the clips of the empty seats, people leaving the Trump rally, and it's night and day. It's a beautiful comparison. And it's wild. It just speaks to the energy, and something that I think we mentioned earlier, but that Trump is just kind of fallen off, it feels like. Am I alone in that?
No. And he actually, it's funny because I think he was trying to say that there was some kind of fire regulations. That's why they couldn't fill those rafters. She filled the exact same rafters, and there was no fire regulations. So, I don't know what happened there.
Sorry, Mandy.
Yeah.
Embarrassing.
Yeah. And what else is embarrassing, I think, is MAGA has made a point of like his mojo is attached to his crowd size. Crowd size has been everything for him, going back to the inauguration.
Yeah.
Remember, he was like, comparing dick sizes with him and Obama at the inauguration. And naturally, he felt very short. Very short.
Very short. It's interesting that you bring that up, and this is a thought that just occurred to me, but it's like such a childish impulse of his, because I think the crowd size is his most direct correlation to ratings, right? Because he's not getting ratings at his rallies per se, so he's basing it at like his success on the crowd size, which is, I would love to hear what like John Gardner would have to say about that, because that seems so malignant narcissist-esque, but also like a dumb little child, like, oh, how many people are here? Oh, okay, we're doing good, guys. The polls, don't listen to the polls. I have 50,000 people or whatever.
Yeah. That's how he gets his validation is basically just applause. And I can't even imagine that the applause is as, in fact, I don't even have to imagine, because people are thankfully, there are people watching. I can't imagine. These rallies are so freaking repetitive. Somebody actually made a graphic. I'm going to show you here. This is the Trump rally set list, right? These are the things that are guaranteed to happen at any Trump rally. So you have 1 is bitch. 2 is moan.
Right.
Which is obviously
similar but
slightly
different
from bitching. 3, praise Hannibal Lecter. That has become a staple in his rallies. Play the victim. Where does he go if he doesn't have his victim card? He can't leave home without it. 5, say something nice about Putin and or Kim Jong-un.
Nice.
6, whine. Which also falls in with bitch and moan.
Bitch and moan category.
But whine is slightly different, I guess, from bitching and moaning.
Yeah, it's got like a guttural kind of. Yeah, it has like a elongated.
Fake some Christian mumbo jumbo.
Yep.
That's number 7. Number 8 is call something anything fake news. Of course, that's an oldie but goodie, right? That's a classic.
That's a classic.
And then 9 is da 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 da. Dance to YMCA like an idiot.
And act like you're jerking off 2 penises at one time.
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah. So, it's no wonder that there's an enthusiasm gap between the Trump campaign and the Kamala Harris campaign, which is absolutely electric.
Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. That's right, Oakland.
I don't know how long it's going to last. I'm happy. I'm enjoying this thing, as it's going on, because you can feel it. If you're watching on TV, you can feel that excitement through the screen. That's nothing that his paid rally attendees can emulate. You can't emulate that authentic, exuberance, that excitement.
Yeah. No, it's poignant, it's powerful, and like you said, you can see it, you can feel it coming in the air tonight. I mean, it's just like it's everywhere. And it's interesting too, because not only is there it feels like this kind of, and I agree with you. I think we can't count our chickens before they roost, but it is nice to bask in it, especially after what felt like an eternity of dark clouds hanging over us. But it does feel like a veil, or I guess maybe better is like a shield right now, because it seems like no attack that Donald Trump, JD Vance, the right wing in general, MAGA especially, nothing that they can lob or throw at Kamala is working, is sticking. Now they're trying to attack Walz, and they're saying he's ultra liberal. And he's right down the middle. I mean, sure, the guy's progressive, but he's just a genuinely good dude. He's giving out free lunches, free breakfast for kids, and you're the pro-life party, and you're upset about that. He's giving, he's codified abortion rights into the Minnesota state constitution. Hello, sure, okay, I understand where Republicans are against that, because they fucking only like babies and people if they're in somebody's womb. And he's legalized access to marijuana, paid family leaves. He's doing all these things for real middle-class working Americans, and they're tangible.
The funny thing is that Republicans are trying to paint those things that you just listed as being some kind of radical thing. But come on,
dude,
you're feeding school kids breakfast and lunch, free breakfast and lunch. What's wrong with that? Kids do better. They learn better when their bellies are not growling, for crying out loud.
100%.
And that's the party, by the way. The Republicans, that's the party that behind Sarah Huckabee Sanders is lowering the age
for kids,
child labor.
Put them in the coal mines. I remember when The America we're trying to get back to that's so great was when kids were in the coal mines. And I could come home and beat my wife and she'd still make me a pie.
It's terrible. Terrible.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's the America they want to go back to. That's when, you always ask. I've asked people this many times. When is this period that America was so great that you want to go back to? And you never get a direct answer for them. They'll try to, they'll deflect and they'll try to change the subject and move the goalposts, whatever. But yeah, come on. When was it? Was it this period when women didn't have the right to vote?
Yep.
And other things? Was it when, Black people were in chains and were property? When we only counted as 3/5 of a human?
Yeah. It's so, I mean, I've felt this way for a long time, but it's so interesting to me that people can have any kind of and I get that it's kind of tied to liberalism or be like liberal ideals and ideology, but just being progressive or supporting progressive policies, how are you against that? Like everything the Republicans have stood for quite a while, and especially now, is regressive, and it's looking backwards, and it's like trying to get back to something that, like you said, kind of never was. There was never really a point where things were absolutely perfect, and it's like, how the hell is that your mentality of where we should go policy wise, of where the country should go? Like, we need to move forward, get with the times. A, sorry, and B, progressivism really is just trying to make things better.
Yeah.
And it's like, how can you be against that? You are actively trying to grab the reins and stop the forward march of progress. And it's like, that's a losing battle that you're always going to lose, A, but also B, like, why are you against moving the fuck on and getting new things done, new legislation?
And I think Tim Walz is a great voice for that. Like, one of the things I like about him, one of the things I liked about him the most when I first saw him speak was he's got a very plain way of speaking. And when I say plain, do not misinterpret that as, uneducated, because he's clearly a smart guy, but he makes what he says accessible to the regular Joe on the street. I can fully understand what you're saying. And some folks actually some folks used to criticize President Obama because he is very intelligent. He often made people feel like they couldn't understand what he was saying. It's not like he was using SAT words, he was still using accessible words, but they sounded so eloquent coming out. This man is talking too smart. And that's why Donald Trump went in the complete other direction and said, I love the poorly educated. So Tim Walz is not, promoting being uneducated. I'm just saying, the way
he's down to earth.
Thank you. That's perfect. He's down to earth. And so he's a perfect vehicle for, as you said earlier, for like that Midwest vibe, for him to communicate the benefits of progressivism. Have you heard about MAGA calling him Tampon Tim?
I have not, actually. I saw that on the show notes and I was like, what? Actually, I did see it trending on Twitter, but I didn't click on it.
It's stupid. You didn't miss
Please
anything.
Explain. Are you sure?
Yeah.
I want to hear it, though.
So apparently he made a rule that, or he signed into law some rule that made access to tampons a thing for girls in school.
Okay.
So girls who are, in need of tampons can now get it from the girls' bathroom in schools, and that's supposedly a bad thing.
Yeah, that's ultra liberal, dude.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Republicans, they want to know, when a girl is on her period. They want to they want to be all up in your business. They want to force young girls as young as 10 or 12 to carry their rapist child to full term.
Yeah.
So
unbelievable. And they have the audacity to call him Tampon Tim. Like I said, like anybody with a functioning prefrontal cortex sees that and it's like, that is the dumbest attack ever. That is the dumbest excuse for being mad at somebody I've ever heard. It's like fucking the unfuckable M&Ms. It's worse than that.
Yeah.
Like for Christ's sake.
Well, what makes it dumber is that any of these attacks that they're trying to launch against Tim Walz can be parlayed into an attack against Donald Trump.
Yeah. Oh, did you see that they put out that his campaign put out a statement about Tim Walz being the VP, and in it, people were quick to point out and criticize that one of the attacks or qualms or problems that they had against him was that he had either made legislation or done something to make it easier for convicted felons to vote. And the dumbasses at the Trump campaign didn't see the irony in putting that in their statement.
Who's going to tell?
Who's going to tell? The internet had a field day on him. It was fantastic.
Yeah,
dumb.
It's crazy. They also they're also trying to attack him over the 2020 riots that happened in response to the George Floyd killing.
Yep.
And I'm going to say this. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Yeah, there were some riots, but the vast majority of the protests that happened in response to George Floyd's death, his murder, they were peaceful. There were people sitting there just doing sit-ins, and sure, those sit-ins, they didn't get any traction from the media because it was nothing burning. So, it's just a bunch of people sitting there. So when you show some buildings that were burning, by the way, because these, have you heard that group, the Boogaloo Boys?
I was just gonna mention, say something about that.
Please to mention. Please.
I mean, I would rather hear your take on the Boogaloo Boys because I'm not super familiar with them, but I was gonna mention that a lot of the time it was outside agitators, that were going in and causing this shit. Fucking Kyle Rittenhouse, goes and shoots people and he gets away with it because I was defending myself.
Yeah, there were plenty of people who were not part of the core protest who were, as you said, outside agitators. There was a guy with an umbrella. They were referring to him as Umbrella Man. That guy was a cop who was going around smashing store windows and setting things on fire. And people were on video saying, hey, man, stop that.
Yeah.
So these were opportunistic attacks that were sporadic and they were few. Again, what you saw on the news was just because what do they say? If it bleeds, it leads. That's a saying. Nobody really cared about those quiet sit-ins. They cared about when things were burning.
Yeah, sad but true.
But they're trying to say anyway that those riots were part of Tim Walz's Minnesota. But wasn't Tim Walz's Minnesota part of Donald Trump's America?
You just broke every maggot's brain if they had one.
There was a major brouhaha about even about the selection of Tim Walz. They said that that Kamala Harris deliberately didn't pick Josh Shapiro because anti-Semitism.
Right, which is rampant in the Democratic Party, especially in Kamala's household.
Yeah.
She absolutely abhors Jewish people. That's why she married one.
That's right. Yeah.
Make it make sense, dude.
It doesn't. You can't. You can't.
You really can't.
It's an absurd accusation. She had plenty of talented, and it was such a deep bench for her to choose from. In addition to Josh Shapiro, there was Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg is also, some people call him the smartest guy in the room. Rhodes Scholar. He's a secretary. He's a cabinet member. He has military background as well. She didn't pick him. So what is she, anti-gay? She didn't pick Gretchen Whitmer. So what is she, anti-woman? And on and on. But no, it doesn't matter. She is the presumptive presidential nominee. She is the decider.
Yeah.
She gets to pick. So it's not up to any of y'all. If you don't like who she picked, it doesn't matter why she didn't pick them. What matters is who she is most comfortable with. And at the end of the day, she felt more comfortable running with Tim Walz, and I don't see why not. The guy is, they have this presidential thing where if you can imagine yourself having a beer with that sort of measuring stick, and frankly, I don't see who wouldn't want to have a beer with Tim Walz. I mean, I don't drink anymore, but if I was a drinking man, I would have a beer with him.
Absolutely. Have a non-alcoholic beer, whatever. The guy is just, he's just nice. You feel like you could hug him. He's a family man. There was a great video going around with just like a bunch of clips of him just being awesome.
With his daughter?
Out with his daughter, going on the slingshot. Like, what a cool guy, man.
Hey, Minnesota, Governor Walz here, out at the State Fair with my daughter.
Hope.
Every year we as a family do something old and something new. I get to pick something, a classic, the old mill ride, to do that. And then Hope gets to pick something new.
I think we're going to go do the slingshot.
Which I don't know what it is, and they're keeping it from me. But then we're going to go get some food, corn dog.
I'm vegetarian.
Turkey then. And
Turkey's meat.
Not in Minnesota, turkey special. And we will go do some of those things and report back.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yes!
Come on. How can you be mad at that? Not like JD Vance, who's just like, fuck. I don't even, let's not even get into it. Yeah.
And even the whole thing, the whole nonsense about Kamala Harris supposedly being a quote unquote DEI hire.
Right.
What would you call Ivanka and Jared then?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to drop the mic on that one. Boom.
Does that come through?
And I think it's time for us to start talking about this week's You Raggedy Bish. You Raggedy Bish. And this week's You Raggedy Bish, I think can only be the former commander-in-chief, the current convicted felon running for office, Spanky McDumbass himself, Donald J. Trump.
Brilliant. I mean, I couldn't agree more, but I am curious, as I'm sure our avid listeners are and viewers, which reason out of all of the ones we can pick from this week is he our Raggedy Bish?
There's several reasons. I'm going to start with one that actually we didn't talk about at all this episode. Was that on Monday there was a slight panic in the stock market. People were calling it, mostly they were calling it a correction.
Right.
But this panic, was nothing more than a panic. It was a correction. It was nowhere near close to what happened in 2008 or what happened in 1987. When the market lost a considerable amount, and it wasn't even close to any of the times during Donald Trump's time in office when the stock market saw historic drops and losses.
Yep.
But he was there cheering it on, like, yeah, see, this is because of Kamala Harris. Like, wait. Now we're blaming the vice president for what happens to the stock market?
Connect those dots for me real quick. How do we get from here to way the fuck? Okay, no, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So what you're actually cheering, Spanky McDumbass, you were cheering people's 401k getting smaller, their life savings, losing them for your political gain, and it's only an incremental gain actually at the end of the day, because just yesterday the markets just
went
jumped back up.
Yeah. And it's like, again, we come back to this just childish, toddler-esque, nonsensical, nana boo-boo behavior where it's just like, I'll take credit for all the good things, even though I did jack shit to affect the market. The president has such a minimal effect on the stock market. Like, come on. From the day-to-day movements of it, too. You're if anything, he should have been calling out BlackRock and saying BlackRock did it or whatever. Like, it just shows how stupid he is and how little information he actually gets through his thick skull about how business works, how the economy works, how the stock market works. And then, he'll take credit when it's good, and he'll be like, point the finger and blame someone else when anything bad happens. And it's like, dude, what do you relax? Like, you don't have to blame every single individual action that makes you soil yourself on the radical left and Kamala Harris and whomever you're mad at today. Crazy Nancy, Chuck Schumer, Kamala.
Yeah, can we talk about that? What is? I don't know if you have like an inside track on deciphering what the hell that is supposed to mean. Kamala, do you know?
I can't wait to see Shrinking Trump this week because I have a feeling they'll talk about it. But I almost think it's either an anger thing where, like, I don't know if it was intentional, and if it wasn't intentional, that's even more concerning because I feel like, okay, now this guy is even, it's like Kofefe but worse, because now he is even mistyping because he's so flustered and angry. It's bad enough that he's misspeaking, and that's something that the phonemic paraphasia, whatever it is, phonemic paraphasia, I think. I think it's him fucking losing his mind. I really do.
If I had to take a guess and give him credit for not being as raging a lunatic as we all believe he is, I would say that the Kamala is a merging of two words, Kamala and black. That's my guess.
Damn.
That's my guess.
It's his racist coding.
Absolutely.
Only those with the third eye that truly know Q.
Which to me, I think is it's a sign that he is completely given up on earning the black vote. I think he's already learned that, well, I'm not going to win the black vote against the first black woman running for president. So he's decided just to double down on his racist base and expand that, because he can't really grow his base much. Really, he's losing. He's got there's this thing called Republicans for Harris. So there's a ton of Republicans just fleeing just to vote for Kamala Harris.
Nikki Haley voted for Harris.
Yeah. And that's a weird thing too. Like, he was busy. Everybody was busy criticizing Kamala Harris for picking Tim Walz, who was a fantastic pick. But where was their criticism on Donald Trump for picking, basically Ambien on two legs, JD Pad, the guy is a snooze fest. He's boring as hell. He doesn't do anything for Donald Trump's ticket. He doesn't help him earn any votes.
He's an elitist prick.
And he called Trump cultural heroin. He said he's America's Hitler. Like, dude, you could have had Nikki Haley, for instance, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying I like Nikki Haley. I
but I
dislike
think
her intensely.
I agree.
But in fact, I was afraid.
Me
I was
too.
afraid that he was going to pick her because that would have been the smart pick. You're losing 20% of your voters to her. Pick her, right? So he doesn't pick her. He could have picked, and this guy I despise, Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah,
He's
such a fool, dude.
He's annoying as hell.
He really is.
But he was popular with a lot of the Republican Party's younger voters. That would have charged him up something fierce. So many other people. But anyway, I despise. He is this week's Raggedy Bish, and he will be the honorary Raggedy Bish for every week that we do this, because mainly I despise what he did at the NABJ thing. I thought it was disgraceful as a former president.
Yep.
I think it was disgraceful as a human being.
Thank you. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
And there was plenty of reaction to that. And I think you're right. I think honestly, it feels like Donald Trump is metaphorically walking into Fifth Avenue, the middle of the street. He's pulling out a gun and he's shooting himself in the foot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know? And I'm here for it. I'm fucking ecstatic about it, honestly. It is great. It's great to be back.
I'll buy him a box of bullets for him to fill his foot. Fill it up.
One
Fill
for
that
each
foot up.
toe. Hell yeah.
So yeah, that is, ladies and gentlemen, that is what we have for you this week on the Defiant podcast. Thank you for joining us for another invigorating, exciting, informative, hopefully, episode.
Indeed. We appreciate all of y'all being here. Thank you for everyone in the chat. Thank you for everyone who's watching, who's listening. Please, if you're viewing this on YouTube, drop a like, support the channel. We have a Patreon page as well if you'd like to donate, help us, grassroots-funded organization, reach more people, keep Donald Trump out of the White House, and support this brand new, exciting Democratic ticket. That is all I got, and we will see you guys soon.
Stay defiant.